Hello guys, welcome back to Being Mrs. Fraser. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. As you can tell, we are cooking some family dinners, realistic meals that I've actually cooked for my family. Some of them are actually staples in this household that we definitely eat every single month. Not every single week, because if you don't know, I do plan out our meals for an entire month. Nothing is ever a repeat unless it's like pizza. Pizza sometimes gets repeated, but who doesn't love pizza almost every week? So I'm going to be sharing 4 different meals for you guys. Super simple, but super delicious, and yeah, and kid friendly. So anyway, let's go ahead and jump into this video. But first, do not forget to subscribe. Come along and join my YouTube journey. I appreciate each and every one of you for being here, especially my loyal subscribers that have been here for so long. I absolutely love you guys. You guys are the best, and I can't wait to continue to grow my account. So I hope you'll join me. Come along, and let's go ahead and jump right into this video. So first up, we have a Dorito taco salad. So it's super simple. It's just like a normal taco salad, except for instead of taco shells or a hard shell or the fried shell taco bowl that you normally see with a taco salad, we're using Doritos. I used to use a taco bowl all the time, but for whatever reason, when we moved down here to Florida, I could not find it anywhere, and your girl doesn't really know how to make a taco bowl out of a shell. So we're using Doritos in today's recipe, so let's go ahead and jump into this easy one to start. This first recipe is super simple. It's just a few ingredients kind of piled on together. So I don't know that I would even really call it a recipe, if you will, but it is what it is. So we're going to go ahead and start with some ground beef. Now, I purchased my ground beef at 80/20. I've also purchased it at like 90/10 before, but I just like the little bit of extra fat in there. It just makes the beef taste better in my opinion. So we're just going to brown up some ground beef here. I did use 2 pounds. However, if you have a smaller family than mine, you could totally use less, or if you have a bigger family or feeding more people, you could totally use more. It's totally up to you how much ground beef you're going to use, but we are a family of 6 and we did use the full 2 pounds on this night. I'm also going to cut up 2 heads of lettuce. So I use iceberg lettuce. It's what my family likes and prefers. It is also the more affordable option, if you will. And so I'm just going to go ahead and cut that up. Now, I did not film washing it or anything like that, but you definitely want to wash your produce. I need to get myself a salad spinner, though. It would like make the washing of the lettuce so much simpler than sitting here and trying to cut it all up and getting it like rinsed and then straining it, and it's a whole ordeal, you guys. But anyway, we're just using, like I said, some iceberg. I'm cutting up the head of lettuce. You could purchase, bagged lettuce, or I know you can get some lettuce that has like a variety of different lettuce, like the red lettuce with green lettuce or spinach even. Again, it's totally whatever your preference is. Once everything is cut up and your ground beef is all completely cooked and browned, I go ahead and add some taco seasoning into the mix. Now, I do make my own taco seasoning. I will be sharing that later on in this video, so make sure you stay tuned for that. And then grab all your toppings. My family likes Italian dressing. I prefer ranch if I use it. I think I do use it on this day, but sometimes I just use some sour cream and salsa and call it a day. I kind of like the taste of the salsa and sour cream mixed together. So anyway, you're just going to go ahead and start stacking everything together, starting with the base of lettuce, then adding onto it your chips. Now, if you don't like Doritos, you could use whatever flavor you want of a corn chip, I guess. You could even, I bet this would taste really good even with some Fritos, or if you just want like a Tostito chip. I bought, let's see, I bought the cheddar or nacho, the normal original Doritos, and then I also bought Cool Ranch, which both are absolutely delicious with this taco salad. And then you're just going to go through and add all your toppings. So again, I added the hamburger, and then I did add in some olives, some shredded Mexican cheese, and of course you got to add some salsa in there. I prefer medium to give it a little bit of a heat or a little bit of a kick, and then some sour cream. We do have some guac, which is absolutely delicious on there as well. But anyway, that's going to be it for this recipe. So let me know if you try this one. It was absolutely delicious, and of course it's super simple and perfect for summertime. Alrighty, next up on the list is another taco item. Go figure, your girl loves tacos, so we eat a wide variety of different taco options, and this one is definitely another version of tacos, and that's chicken fajitas. So in this recipe, we're going to be making our own tortillas, our own seasoning, so like the taco seasoning packets. We don't use the taco seasoning packets here. I make my own with all my other seasonings, and so we'll be making that today in today's recipe, and then of course you gotta cook the meat, the peppers, all the things, and build the yummy fajitas. I also have a little bit of another idea for the fajitas, so make sure you stay tuned if you want to know what that idea was. So who knew that flour tortillas were so easy to make? I mean, sure, you can buy some. I mean, I love Mission tortillas. They taste really good. I like that I can buy gluten-free ones or carb balance ones or anything like that. But nothing beats a homemade tortilla. Homemade tortillas are just absolutely delicious, and they are so simple. It's literally just 3 cups of flour, a pinch of baking soda, half a teaspoon of salt. You just kind of mix the dry ingredients together and then add in a one stick of butter melted. So I think what is one stick, like 8 tablespoons of butter. And then then you're going to want to use some warm water. So about a cup or so of warm water. However, you're not going to want to mix the water in all at one time. But anyway, like I said, you're going to want to start by just adding all your dry ingredients to a bowl and kind of give that a little bit of a stir first. Once you mix up those dry ingredients or kind of disperse the dry ingredients, then you're going to want to add in your butter. You're going to want to kind of get that all nice and crumbly until you have basically little pea size of flour and butter mixture. It's kind of like when you're making biscuits and you mix in the flour, you cut in the butter into the flour mixture and it gets those little crumbly bits. That's kind of what you're looking for here with the flour mixture and the butter. Once you get that butter nice and distributed, then you start adding your water. Now you're not going to want to dump the whole cup of water in there at a time. You're going to want to go ahead and disperse it about a quarter of a cup at a time. You know, you'll kind of know once your dough starts coming together how much water you're really going to need. Now I only used about 3/4 of a cup of water with this mixture, and I think I got about 16 or so tortillas all together. Now you can double this recipe, of course, and make more, especially if you have a larger crowd. But this recipe I did not double. I didn't need to because my family doesn't eat a whole lot of tacos. I'm like, me and my daughter are the ones that eat the fajitas around here. But anyway, like I said, just add a little bit of water as you go until it basically all the flour comes together in a nice dough pile. Then here comes the easiest part, but the most what is the word? Look, I have carpal tunnel, and your girl struggled through this part. My hands were killing me the next day. It was such an ordeal, but you're going to want to go ahead and knead this dough basically until it is no longer sticking to your hands. And that is a good, 5 to 10 minutes of kneading the dough. You're also going to want a lot of air pockets in there. It makes the tortillas nice, fluffy, soft, but absolutely delicious. So definitely make sure that you are kneading everything and getting it all to come together. As you can see, this dough is very smooth. It's not sticking to anything. I didn't flour the surface when I was kneading it or anything like that. So once you get to that point of the flour tortillas, then you're going to want to sit down, or then you're going to not sit down. Then you want to go ahead and divide up into equal portions. And like I said, I made about 16 flour tortillas. Now, I would say they were probably like a normal small tortilla, maybe about 6-7 inches or so in diameter. Yes, circumference is all the way around, diameter is across. I losing my math brain here when I don't use it. So anyway, we're going to go ahead, get these little dough balls all kind of rolled in together, and then we're going to allow them to rest for about 10 minutes or so covered. So once those shells are resting, or while those shells or tortillas or dough balls are resting, we're going to go ahead and mix up our fajita seasoning. Now, I use this seasoning for tacos, for fajitas, for like all the things, whether it's hamburger, ground beef, whatever, or chicken, or even on like pork and stuff like that. Anything that you make tacos out of, you could totally use this seasoning on. And I just add all the seasonings to one giant bottle. It makes it easier for me, in my opinion, so that way I can make a ton ahead of time and I don't have to make it every single time I need it. But it's super simple. It's just 1 tablespoon of chili powder, 1.5 teaspoons of cumin, a teaspoon of black pepper, a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of paprika, half a teaspoon of oregano, a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder and onion powder, and then some crushed red pepper. So like I said, it's super simple. You just put it into a container or a bowl, mix it up, and then you can store it, and as long as your seasonings are good, in an airtight container, and that's all we do. Now, usually we go through this so quickly because, like I said, I make a ton of taco themed dinners or dishes, if you will. Now, I just sliced up some boneless, skinless chicken breast. You could totally use thighs. It would give it a lot more flavor. If you like dark meat, I personally do not like dark meat. I feel like it's kind of slimy in my opinion. And I think chicken breasts are just fine as long as you don't overcook them. And so anyway, I'm just going to add a little bit of that seasoning, or a lot of it. Kind of depends on your preference. I don't measure when it comes to seasoning. I just kind of layer it on, and whatever looks good and feels good in my heart, I make it work. So while that chicken is finish cooking, I'm going to go ahead and start on the tortillas. Now, it's been 10 minutes since they've been sitting and resting, and it is time to roll them out. If they start pulling away at the edges and kind of trying to shrink back up, that means they need to rest a little bit longer. So I'm going to go ahead, flatten these out. I flatten them like paper thin. They thicken up while they cook, and so I just flatten them all the way out. Now, I could get a press. That would make this a lot easier. I had one at one time, but I feel like it just didn't get thin enough for my taste or my liking. So I prefer a rolling pin method, but whatever, float your boat. Now, with the rolling pin, they're not going to be perfectly circle, but it is what it is. It just makes, shows that they're homemade and that they show a little bit of love. So you're going to go ahead and put them on a skillet. I have my skillet here sat at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for my friends outside of the US. I don't know what that is in Celsius. I'm so sorry. But I lay the tortilla on for about 30 seconds or so, flip it, let it go a full minute, and then flip it again and let it start rising again from there. You'll see it puff up. It's actually a really cool process. I don't know why, but I love watching the tortillas fluff. But that's when you know they're nice and cooked and they are done and ready to come off of the skillet. And then I just store them inside of a towel, inside of a little tortilla container to just kind of keep them warm. So that way, while I continue to cook them, they don't cool off and are cold for dinner. So as you can see, they're nice and soft, absolutely delicious. I love a good butter flour tortilla. They are so good. So now you can see that I did go ahead and add the peppers. I did put more seasoning on there. I love a lot of seasoning. You know, again, season with your heart, you guys. And anyway, I'm going to go ahead and put some sour cream on here on my tortillas, and then just add the peppers and chicken. That's all I put on my tortillas. Now, sometimes we'll put some shredded cheese on there, but you could totally add tomatoes to this, or any, like guac or anything that you like. You choose the toppings on your tacos, but I really love just to have that the seasoned chicken and the peppers really just take over, and I think they're absolutely delicious. So again, you'll have to let me know if you try this one. It is so good and so simple. Item on the list, or the next dinner on the list, on the menu, is a one-pot hamburger helper. So, no, we're not pulling out a box of hamburger helper. Your girl is not going to do that to you. Although I did grow up on hamburger helper, we ate hamburger helper all the time. But you guys, we're trying to learn how to get away from boxed or pre-boxed items and starting to make things from scratch. And so that kind of falls in line with this. It's kind of a Tex-Mex, cheesy taco, homemade hamburger helper, if you will. And the beauty of it, it's all made in one pot. Now, this next one, like I said, I used to eat hamburger helper all the time as a child, so this is very nostalgic for me, even though I'm making it from scratch and my mom didn't. But that's okay. No judgment at all, because actually, honestly, sometimes I like a good box of hamburger helper, but we're in the process of moving away from processed foods, I guess, if you will, boxed, prepackaged foods. And so this is another one that is super, super simple, but it does have that little Tex-Mex flair, so it's kind of got a taco flair, if you will. But again, it's super, super simple. You're just going to start by browning up a pound of ground beef, and then adding in your seasonings. Don't be shocked by the sugar. Trust the process. It is absolutely delicious. I promise you. I do want you guys to try all these. They are so good. So make sure you are saving this video. Make sure you're screenshotting the recipes on the screen. Or if you don't have the screenshot, if you'd like me to type out the recipe, leave me a comment down below and I will happily type the recipe out for you so you can screenshot it that way if you'd like, or copy and paste it into like a Word document. However you'd like it, let me know, because it is so simple and absolutely delicious and definitely a fan favorite around here. As you know, as I said before, some of these recipes I am doubling. This is one recipe that I did double. Instead of the 1 pound of ground beef, I am using 2. I don't measure perfectly when it comes to the seasonings. I use heaping teaspoons and tablespoons. I also added a smidge of, so the recipe calls for cornstarch because it helps pull together the liquids, and I add that to my milk. When I measure out the milk, I do add the cornstarch to that, so that way I can stir it up, so that way when you pour it in your dish that it doesn't get all clumpy in there, because then it makes it a little bit hard to get rid of those lumps and clumps. You know what I mean? So I add it, a little tip from Tammy, add it to your liquids before you're adding it to your dish. And then once you got everything in that pan, because like I said, it is a 1-pot meal, which who doesn't love easy cleanup? You add all the ingredients to it, you bring it back to a boil, cover the pan, and basically let it simmer for about 10 minutes or so. Now you are going to want to stir this every couple minutes just to make sure that nothing is sticking to the bottom. And then once you notice that there's very little liquid left in the bottom of the dish or of the pan, You're going to want to go ahead and add in your cheese. That liquid will be absorbed basically immediately into like not only the pasta but also that cheese. It helps make that cheese melt down and get real nice and creamy. Now typically I would just use cheddar cheese. However, I ran out of cheddar cheese. My other package was still frozen, so I am using a Mexican blend, which is perfectly fine and still absolutely delicious. I know I say that. I've been saying that everything is delicious, but trust me, these are tried and true recipes, realistic meals that I am cooking for my family all the time. Almost every single month I make these meals. Last but not least is fettuccine Alfredo, and you guys, again, we're trying to get away from the pre-made processed items. Although technically everything is processed, if you will, but I think you guys understand what I'm saying. So we don't want to use jarred Alfredo sauce. We're going to make it from scratch. And if you haven't made it yet for yourself from scratch, you're going to be surprised at how easy it really is to make a simple fettuccine Alfredo. Now, you don't have to use fettuccine noodles or pasta. You could use whatever pasta you like. We just prefer to use, actually we don't even use fettuccine, we use linguine. So anyway, we're going to be making a linguine Alfredo, if you will. And then we're also going to be making some garlic knots for it out of the bread machine. Now, if you guys haven't already checked out my bread machine recipe video, definitely do that, because the full recipe for the garlic knots is over there. However, we are making the garlic knots with the bread machine for the linguine Alfredo. So we are finally at the last meal here with the fettuccine Alfredo, or the linguine Alfredo, you know what I mean? And so we're going to start with the garlic knots. Like I said, I did already make this recipe with you guys on my bread machine meal. If you guys are enjoying these recipes also, let me know down in the comments so I can continue making them for you. I truly enjoy sharing these recipes and cooking with you guys, especially with the bread machine ones. I'm having so much fun creating in my bread machine, and so I love sharing that. So if you guys are interested in more videos like that, definitely like this video. Leave me a comment telling me that you like it or what you want to see next. Again, I'm having so much fun creating these for you, and so yeah. But anyway, the bread machine, I love it. Like I said earlier, your girl has carpal tunnel, so it's really hard for me to sit there and knead things. And with dough, you know, it's kind of necessary, but with the bread machine, it eliminates that for you, and it does all the kneading and the rising process and all that within the machine. So we're gonna go ahead. It's again super simple, adding all the ingredients to the bread machine, and then just cutting everything down once it goes off. Now, I will say, little tip from Tammy, you're definitely going to want to make sure that you are starting this recipe a good 2 hours before you're going to start making dinner, because the dough process itself takes about 90 minutes or so, and then it needs to rise for another 30 to 45 minutes after you make the little garlic knots. So make sure you are planning ahead of time, because you don't want your pasta to get done and your bread is not ready. So now that the garlic knots are resting, we're going to go ahead and start prepping the rest of the meal. So I'm going to make instead of just the fettuccine Alfredo, I'm going to make a Cajun chicken fettuccine Alfredo, or Alfredo, because we're not using fettuccine noodles, and that's what makes it fettuccine Alfredo. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and prep these chicken breasts. Again, boneless, skinless chicken breast, or use whatever you prefer. It's just what I prefer. My family doesn't care. I'm the one that meal plans. I'm the one that cooks the dinner, so we all get chicken breast. So I'm going to use about half of this container, about 2 large chicken breasts for my family. I could have probably added 1 more chicken breast just to make it a little bit more protein to the meal, if you will. But I am just cutting this up into basically bite-sized pieces, cutting off all the yucky bits, you know, anything that has extra fat or like the cartilage or anything like that, while I am cutting up the meat. So again, you're just going to want to cut it all up into bite-sized pieces, super simple, and then add that to your pan with a little bit of oil, and then turn it on medium-high heat. I don't like to cook anything on high unless I'm boiling water. A little tip from Tammy, if you don't know, cooking at high heat in nonstick pans actually can ruin your pans and make them not non-stick anymore, and then, you know, it makes it easier to scratch up the bottom and whatnot. So I didn't know that originally, and so I've actually ruined quite a few pans because I didn't know that. But if you didn't know, now you do, and I know, and so hopefully we're not ruining any more pans after that. But anyway, we're gonna go ahead and add the seasoning now as well. I am using just a Cajun seasoning, and then some like salt and pepper, and I think that's all I seasoned the chicken with. Again, if you're adding chicken to this pasta, definitely season with your heart, with however much or little that you prefer. I prefer a lot of seasoning. I love a lot of flavor in my dishes, and so I definitely season the heck out of this chicken. I am using I did end up swapping the burners because I don't know. The one burner is my favorite. It works better. I don't know. But anyway, once that chicken is cooked thoroughly, you definitely want to make sure your chicken is cooked thoroughly. And we don't want no pink chicken around here. But once it is browned and cooked nice and golden, go ahead and set that off to the side. So I'm just putting it onto a plate, and I'm just getting the big chunks. I am leaving little bits in the bottom of the pan, and with that nice the rest of that flavor, the liquid that you see in the pan, I am leaving that in the pan. I want that flavor into my Alfredo sauce. So once you get all the chicken out of your pan, we're going to start adding in the rest of the ingredients. Now, I told you, Alfredo is so easy, but people make it differently. So if you do not make it this way, try it this way. Just give it a try before you judge, okay? But it is so super simple, so super yummy and creamy and just delicious. We're going to add 2 tablespoons of butter to the bottom of the pan, and then we're going to also add in 4 ounces of cream cheese. Now, you're going to notice that I am using a lot more than what I am telling you to use because, again, I actually did this recipe 2.5 times compared to just one time. I like a lot of sauce with my pasta, and then also this recipe calls for about 12 ounces of pasta where I had 16 ounces and I doubled that, so bear with me on the ingredients. But anyway, so once you start getting the butter and the cream cheese melted down, then you're going to want to go ahead and add in a cup of heavy whipping cream and your garlic. So do not burn your garlic. You want it to have a nice smell, just very, not flavorful, fragrant. Fragrant is the word I'm looking for. And before you add in your cream. And so, that way it gets a nice golden color to it as well. And it's just very flavorful. Now, the recipe doesn't add for any more seasoning. So again, season with your heart. And now I did add in some salt and pepper, and I also added in some garlic powder. I love garlic. The flavor of garlic is just chef's kiss, absolutely delicious. I love it. And so I added probably a little more garlic than most people, but you also got to keep the vampires away, guys. So I'm just joking. But anyway, also before I forgot, I wanted to also take out some pasta water. You just saw me put it in the measuring cup there before my pasta is fully finished, but
you're going to want to use that just in case it gets a little bit too thick once you add in the Parmesan cheese, because once your heavy whipping cream starts bubbling, then you're going to want to go ahead and add in about a cup of shredded Parmesan cheese. Now, you know, buy your stuff pre-shredded or shred it yourself. It's totally up to you. There is a little bit more ingredients in the pre-shredded stuff, so, you know, do with that information as you will. Your girl's using pre-shredded. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and add that to the cream mixture. We're going to melt it down. And then, like I said, if it gets a little bit too thick, add in some of that pasta water to help thin it out a little bit. So I actually pulled out about a cup or so of the pasta water, and I did add that slowly in, and I did end up using all of it. So again, definitely judge off of what your pasta looks like, or not your pasta, your Alfredo looks like, and how thick you like your sauce. I think that the sauce should coat the back of the spoon very nicely, very thickly. Thickly, is that even a word? Probably not, but we make words up all the time over here. Anyway, guys, like I said, I did end up using all the pasta water. I prefer it that way, just to kind of thin out the sauce a little bit. And then once the noodles are finished straining, we'll bring them back and we'll start serving everything up. So you guys will have to let me know, because I know that this is debatable depending on who you are, but I always like to add my sauce directly to the pasta. I prefer it that way. I just think I think it's so much easier to go that route instead of having like a ton of pasta left over because you used all the sauce. You know what I mean? So anyway, we're going to add the sauce to that pasta. We're also going to put that chicken back in there, and make sure you are scraping all that yummy goodness off of the plate from the chicken being sat there. You want all that. That's all flavor. You want that in your pasta. I promise. It's so good. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and give it a little bit of a stir, and then we're going to serve it up. Now, I do end up adding a little bit more seasoning into it. I wanted a little bit more kick, so I added more of that Cajun seasoning into my pasta bowl. And then I did top it with a little bit of parsley, a little more of that shredded Parmesan, and that's it. It was absolutely delicious. Of course, I topped our little garlic knots off with some melted butter and garlic. I used the minced garlic and some garlic powder in the butter, and they were absolutely delicious as well. So anyway, again, let me know if you try this recipe and what you think of it. It's so easy, I promise you, and you're gonna love it.
Alrighty guys, that's going to be it for today's video. Thank you so much for sticking around, watching, and making it through the end. I hope you all are hungry now and you're going to go make one of these recipes. And if you do, let me know which one you make, or if you make all of them. Let me know if you do choose to make them, what one is your favorite, how you liked it. And yeah, I absolutely, I love all of these meals. My family loves all of these meals, so I really hope that you do as well. Again, they are all super simple. I love simple around here, especially with our busy family. So you'll also notice, I don't remember if I mentioned, but we are a family of 6, and so a lot of the meals, although I am giving you the recipes that will make less, most of them are doubled for us. So that way we also have plenty of leftovers to go around for those extra busy days or extra busy nights that we do not have time to make something. But anyway guys, like I said, that is the end of today's video. I hope it was helpful. If it was, definitely make sure you subscribe. Don't forget to hit the like button, the thumbs up. Give this video a big thumbs up if you will. And don't forget to leave me a comment. So let's see, what emoji are we going to use this week? Maybe put like a frying pan or some cooking utensil down in the comments for me if you would. It would be greatly appreciated, and I hope you all stay happy, healthy, and safe. Until next time, bye guys.